Hey everyone, welcome to Odinic School of Mysteries. My name is Bear. Thank you for coming. This is number 23. And I've gotten a variety of different emails and comments over the last week or so, maybe last 2 weeks, about about death, um, afterlife, and resurrection. Or not resurrection, but reincarnation. And those are fantastic. It's a fantastic topic anyway. Excuse me. But I get it. I understand. We're dealing with new information, a whole new way of looking at things, and um, it's confusing and it's weird, and I understand. So it's actually really good that you asked this. In addition, addressing this is going to line us up perfectly for the next few videos we're going to be going over anyway, which is about shamanism and the other world and the spirit world and all of that stuff. And that'll be excellent. So, to begin, it is important to understand that I, like everyone else, is in the same boat, right? Though I probably have died at some point in a past life or whatever. I, of course, don't remember it. No one remembers it. So, all I can do in answering these questions is to teach you what I know as I currently understand it. Right. So what I'm going to tell you is as I currently understand it, and that's the best I can do. I can't speak for any supreme authority, nor can anyone else. Right? We're all here just doing the best we can with the information we got. That's just the way it goes. Okay? So, with that said, let's begin. The assumption, when we deal with things like this, is we see everything as external from ourselves. So when you're walking down the street and you engage in your life, everything just seems external than you. Right? The cars, the trees, the houses, your kids, your wife, girlfriend, high school, whatever. It always appears to be external than you. And so, because everything you know appears to be external than you, everything else appears to be external too. But the thing is, everything you see, everything you hear, you touch, you taste, you smell, all of that is filtered through your mind. You don't see anything, actually. There's nothing around you to see. All you sense is just your mind hallucinating its own reality. Right? Your brain hallucinates reality. There was actually a really fantastic TED Talk about this very thing. I'll see if I could find it, and maybe I'll put it in the description or something. About how the mind hallucinates reality. So you're already, right now, a spirit. Right? And you're already inside a mind. And you're already perceiving, so that the things you're perceiving are already inside your mind currently. Right? It appears external than you. But in reality, all of that input, all of that stuff is actually internal and not external. There's a really old esoteric saying that the only way out is in. The only way to understand what is outside of you is to understand what is inside of you. Because reality, ultimately, is inside your own mind. For instance, the way that I see the color blue, right, may not be the same color blue that you see. It could be something else. Matter of fact, all the colors I see may be unexistent inside of your mind. You could have an entirely different set of color palettes than I do. But because growing up we just point to that and say that is blue, we think we're seeing the same color, but there's no proof of that. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you taste is different and unique unto your own reality. So I'm saying this right now to put you in a mindset that says nothing is external than you. To get you to understand that everything is mind to begin with. Okay. So, how do I say this? So, the concept of death, when the body dies, the way that it is currently understood by most people is that this life is the main event, and that what you do here determines everything else. That is technically, I suppose you could say that is partly true, I would say. Because everything you do at any point in time determines the future. What you do now, the second, is going to create a cause and effect chain that is going to affect everything else, right? So in that sense, I would say that would be an accurate statement. But people, again, they think of everything as being external to themselves. So I'm going to give you a story. Now, this isn't something that is usually discussed outside to people who aren't initiated. So consider yourselves lucky, I guess, if you want to consider yourself lucky or not. But this is a really good way of explaining it. Quick caveat. All right, before we get into the story, like all mythological stories, like all stories, the story exists to create a framework for your mind to work with. But it is not meant to be taken in a literal way. The truth is found in the abstraction. Okay. The story of the myth is not meant to be literal. It's meant to give the mind a framework so that the truth can be discovered in the abstraction. I'm going to say that a third time because it is so important. The myth is not meant to be taken literally, but is put there to give the mind a framework to work with so that truth can be discovered in the abstraction. You understand? So, this is not meant to be taken as a literal truth, but it is to give you something to work with. Okay? Here's the story. You grow up, you reach a certain age, and it's time for you to be initiated, to reach your coming of age journey. So you go to the temple, and there's the master. The master takes you by the hand, and he leads you down a very long hallway. And at the end of the hallway is a door with a small square room. Yup, there's no windows, there's no doors, it's black inside. He opens the door, you walk in, and behind you, the door closes. Okay. You sit down on the floor, cross-legged. You put your hands on your knees, and you begin to meditate. Due to the strong power of your mind, you awaken in a new realm, a new realm, a new world, a new place. The world you're in, you don't control the world you're in, but you become aware of it. You awaken to it, and you see it in your mind. And the first thing you see is your mother holding you in her arms. It's you. right? This is the story of you. And so that as you go through the power of your mind, you move through this world and you interact with it. The friends you meet, the things you touch, all of that is in your mind. Even though the friends you meet may be other dreamers who are doing the same thing that you are, and you're interacting with them. However, the way you perceive them and the way you perceive their consciousness as it interacts with your consciousness is inside your mind. Your mind creates an image that it thinks that other consciousness looks like. Okay. The real you is the dreamer. The real you is the person who's out there, who's in a meditation, and you're here in this world going about your business. Now, the thing with dreams is that if you recall if you understand anything about dream science, you know that the person who's in the dream has no concept of the past or future. It just exists in the moment. Right? This is what it's like being in time. Right? The dreamer outside is timeless. You, however, are bound to certain constraints inside the dream. You don't remember where you came from. You're not really sure where you're going. You just know that you are. And you make certain guesses as to all of those things. Now, say you live your life. The dreamer's dream comes to an end. And instead of everything ending, you simply wake up. Like you do in your own dreams or a daydream. Right? There's no suffering. There's nothing bad happens. You just simply, because the consciousness that's involved in the dream is already you. You're not losing anything. You just simply, your consciousness shifts and you're back into your normal state. Understand? So the dreamer does his dream. He does its meditation. And at the end of its meditation, it awakens. He stands up. He opens the door, and there sits the master. The master says, I've reviewed your dream. I've looked at what was presented to me. You have not passed the tests. You need to go back. And so, you turn back around. You enter your little door. You sit in the little cellar. In the dark. You sit back on your hands and knees. Arms on your knees. You close your eyes and begin another dream. And the story continues. Either the story advances or the story repeats. Or, in rare cases, you get sent back a story. You're downgraded because you really messed up. This is kind of the way to think about death and reincarnation. Is that we're not talking about, how do I put it? The only way to put it is there's just life. Right? There's just life. You are alive. You exist within the mind of the all. And your consciousness ends up, and over the course of your existence, ends up in different planes and different parts. The true nature of reality isn't a linear thing like we have now. It's layers of dreams, essentially. We live in the mind of the all. We live in basically a daydream of the all. And so, because everything's a daydream, everything's mind, everything is mind. You understand? So there's just life. And the only way for you to stop living is if the all, you never even really stop living. The all just wakes up. Right, from its dream. So the thing to keep in mind is that there's just life. Death is a lie. So when you die, essentially the dreamer just wakes up and you move on to the next stage. In almost all mystery school traditions, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them, man, the body of man, is just assumed to be a womb. This is just a womb for your spirit. And your spirit is being built into something better. And then after the spirit is built, it's born, it's birthed into a new life. It's born again. You understand what I mean? So, like there's a lot of them that discuss how the earth is a womb and the sun isn't actually a ball of gas or electricity like what some are saying, but is actually a hole in the sky. That's the birth canal is what you're looking at, and outside the hole in the sky is the true reality of things, is where God sits, and that the true glory of God is coming through the hole and into our world, and that's what's giving us life and love and happiness and all of that stuff that comes from the sun. It's not a circle, it's a hole, esoterically speaking, right? Again, these are just things for your mind to hold on to so you can get to the truth and the abstraction. They're just ways of looking at the world in order to get to the truth. And that's really the only way you can do it. That's the only way any of these questions are answered, is if you are willing to ask what-if questions. You really have to think outside the box and kind of see the multi-dimensions as they are. Because there's no real good way of explaining it other than like through stories. But over time, right? Over time, enough journeys have been made, and then you get to move on to something else. Which is why I think it's silly that people want to stay here. You know, a lot of people are like, we like it here, it's nice, you know. I don't get that. I don't want to wake up, you know. I don't want to be stuck in the dream. Have you ever been stuck in a dream? I've had these times, like when I'm like at night or whatever, and I'm asleep, and I have realistic dreams I get stuck in, and I can't figure out how to wake up. It's really bizarre. That's happened a couple of times. But that's the way to think about death, right? Or rebirth or reincarnation, is that there's no cutoff point. You're always alive. There's just life. And your consciousness finds itself in different places, a little bit like nesting dolls of consciousness. And when you wake up from one reality, you're in a different one. And it gets kind of messy to try and explain all of that. But essentially, that's the way to think of it. Think of it as somewhere out there is a dreamer. And you're here as a part of its mind. And you're walking through and experiencing life as a lesser being than what you really are. The real you is incredibly powerful and immense and compared to what you are. Dreams, you go to bed and you have a dream, that little piece of you is just a fraction of who you really are, right? The real you is enormous and infinite and beyond your comprehension. But because of the nature of the dream, we forget who we are. We forget where we came from. We don't understand where we're going. And so we get stuck in the system. We just accept reality as it is given to us without asking any really tough questions about it. I see it, therefore it must be true. And it's this dream science, this ability to recognize the mental nature of the universe, which is going to be infinitely useful when it comes to explaining shamanism, because that is all shamanism is about mental science, spirit worlds, and that sort of thing. Well, I hope that that was decent. I have kind of a low-grade migraine today, so I'm feeling a little bleh. I'm not really thinking very clearly, so hopefully that wasn't too rambly. But yeah, that is basically what we're dealing with here. That is kind of the essence of the of how I currently understand life and death. That there is no death. Death is a lie. There's just life. And when you wake up from one reality, you're in a different one. Dying is being born. You know, the Egyptians didn't even have a name for death. It was called westing. So and so. Where are they going? They're westing. They're going to the west. So, it's important stuff. It's important stuff to understand where you are. And you have to understand where you came from to understand where you're going. Right? So, I hope that helps. Hope that answers some questions. Of course, if you have you need something that needs some clarification or whatever, shoot me an email or leave a comment below. Like, share, subscribe, of course. And I'll see you next time. All right? Bye-bye.